Singh, and we are going to start our practice today with a sentiment of metta, loving kindness. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I am so happy to be here today. And as I mentioned, we are recording this session today. The only person featured on the recording is me. Everybody who's in attendance, your presence here is kept confidential. When we come to that part of our practice where we open up this space for community sharing, the recording is turned off. And we share these recordings on various platforms. We have podcasts and our website and YouTube. And it's a wonderful way for people to get into a Recovery Dharma practice. We have a lot of content out there, so you can have this on in the background of your life all day long. And it's just a wonderful way to frame your day. It's also an amazing access point for anybody who is curious about what Recovery Dharma is, anyone who might be curious about an alternative way to understanding and maybe shifting their relationship to negative habit energy. This is our sentiment of metta today. This bright, beautiful green. It's so springy. This one reads, "May I remember, I am not a mistake in the eyes of the divine." May I remember, I am not a mistake in the eyes of the divine. Take a deep breath. Take that in. And this is a perfect sentiment to begin our practice and our reflection today. For those of you who are new in the Spokane Sangha, we take Buddhist practices and principles and we study them for an entire month. And so for the month of April, we are exploring the fourth noble truth, that there is a way out of suffering. There is a way to limit the misery and confusion in our lives. One of the things that I have done for my practice is I like to play with language. I like to play with words. And that word, the way or a path, for me, I kept thinking, well, what is that? How can I really access that for myself? And the word that comes alive for me is, this is a practice. And within that practice, there is space for error. There is space for me to get it wrong. And in that wrongness, while I may be uncomfortable, in fact, I'm certain to be uncomfortable, while I may experience confusion and even suffering, that presents, as Pema Chodron likes to say, the raw material for my understanding. So in some ways, I have to make mistakes because mistakes help me correct course and support and encourage the direction that I would prefer and aspire to go. So with that, I'd like to share with you a book that I have, and I wish you could see it up close. So first of all, I'm going to just show you the back, the side binding. It's a nightmare. Oh, and this is by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I just want you to appreciate how well loved this book is. Okay. So it's hanging on by a thread. And if you look at it this way, it's just completely warped. All right. Now, why, you may wonder, maybe you're not wondering, and I'm going to tell you anyway. So I often keep books like this in my bathroom. And to some people, that may sound a little sacrilegious. And maybe it is. That could be true. The truth is, I mean no disrespect. I have these books, this type of book. This is one of those daily books, daily wisdom books. I keep several of them in the bathrooms in my home because it's the one place where I'm guaranteed to sit. and I sit for a minute and I'll read a book. But of course, it's a bathroom, so bathrooms are wet and steamy, and so my books get touched by that. But today, I just happened to be inspired to pull this book out, and I wanted to share with you the sentiment for today. And I know in the Fourth Noble Truth, there is a way out of suffering. It's called the Noble Eightfold Path. And there are 8 concepts that are enormous that comprise this Noble Eightfold Path. And if you have a mind anything like mine, there's this achieving that overcomes me. Okay, there's a way, there's a path, there's a striving, there's a way to do this. I can look at wise understanding, and I've got to get that done. I've got to be a gold star in my understanding. Wise action. Yes, I'm on it. Wise effort. Look at me. I am, pristinely efforting, and so on. And it can become really overwhelming and daunting. And I can very quickly lose sight of the practice. And I can go into the spectacle of my mind and forget that the practice can be applied in very small, simple ways. Today's reading is a reminder of that. This is from His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, April 9th. Taking your own body and mind as the laboratory. Engage in some thoroughgoing research on your own mental functioning and examine the possibility of making some positive changes within yourself. That's it. Let me read it again. Taking your own body and mind as the laboratory. Engage in some thoroughgoing research on your own mental functioning and examine the possibility of making some positive changes within yourself. Okay, now let's take this apart a little bit and let's apply the first quality and the first aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path reimagined. So, traditionally speaking, we begin with wise intention, sometimes wise understanding, depending upon where you go, where you read. My reimagined idea about what that means is to be curious. So let's be curious. Take your own mind and body as a laboratory. What that means, friends, to me, is turn my gaze that has such a propensity to compare. In fact, I'm kind of nosy. I can't mind my own business. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And how does that compare to me? And why are they doing what they're doing? Geez, got to mind my own business and come back to my own mind and body. And I also notice for myself, oftentimes when I'm in the middle of everybody else's business, it's because I don't want to look at my own. I may have neglected the sanctity and the sanctuary of my own mind and body. So this is an invitation to come into your own space, put up some really beautiful borders, some beautiful boundaries around your space. No fortresses, no barricades, just a lovely idyllic stone wall, a balaclohe framing your life. And in your space somewhere is your mind and your body, exactly as you are. And now look, notice, observe. His Holiness asks us to explore our own mental functioning. One of my favorite topics that was explored up at Sravasti Abbey early in my study there was the experience of dullness. Not dull like dopiness, duh, not that kind of dull, but dull that has been neglected, aspects that have been neglected so that their shine is obscured and obstructed. And in order to bring back the shine of something dull, there's a little effort that has to go into it. So the question is for me often, when has my mind been dull lately? And what does that mean for me? Usually that means repetitive thinking, obsessive storytelling, usually on the negative. And so in that emphasis on the negative. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I said this that way. That was too much. All the ways I'm in the negative. That activity dulls all the positive aspects that are alive in my mind and body as well. That's not to say that anything that I was just thinking about in the negative isn't true. It absolutely could be true. And it's not the whole truth. The truth is, I've dulled aspects of myself, the neutral qualities I possess and the positive qualities I possess. So I have to make the effort to turn my head and look at what else is here. I should have done that. True. What have I been doing? I said this in this way and it wasn't particularly skillful. Absolutely true. Look over here. What is my capacity to make amends and to repair and to learn and do things more skillfully the next time? And friends, I can't discover any of that if I'm not willing to show up to myself, use my own mind and body. And I struggle to do that unless I create a sanctuary for these kinds of reflections. And that's what these types of practices do for me. They create an environment, they create the conditions for me to self reflect, self examine, and by extension, self accept. His Holiness says the last part of it is in this effort of putting yourself in a space where you can see the whole of yourself, can you create the conditions for a single possibility for a positive change to emerge? And I think very quickly the answer to that is yes. And I would even be so bold to say that we've already done it, making the effort to show up here, offering ourselves the courtesy of this time to self-reflect. These are incredibly positive changes. One of the things that I have had to contend with in my own practice for many years is the quality of greed that lives in me. And it creates all kinds of discursive thinking and aversion. But nevertheless, I have a very heightened sense of greed, and it manifests in a really challenging way. That is, I'm often greedy to be farther along than I am. I'm often greedy for the big spectacle, the big awakening moment, the big, whatever that is. And in that posture, I forget the magnificence of small wonders. I disregard the profound nature of simplicity. And I ignore those aspects of my own effort, small they may be, and yet they are effective and highly positive and charged. So, one of the positive changes that I'm often encouraged to consider is to examine greed and to examine the way my inner saboteur uses greed to diminish my efforts. And the positive change I make is to stand in the space of my life with a little bit more solidity, a little bit more awareness, and to say, yeah, while this is uncomfortable to look at this, I can also look at all of these other positive qualities. All of these things exist and make the whole of me. That's my positive change. What's yours? For the next few moments, let's take 5 minutes or so. Let's bring this into a meditation. Can you see yourself in the middle of your life, in the sacredness of your life? Can you take a look at your own body and your mind? Can you be curious? If it's a laboratory, you're kind of a psychological scientist. What's your hypothesis? What's your question? Be curious. Notice. Don't leave any stone unturned. And maybe the invitation today is to simply observe one stone that you've turned over. Simplify your effort. And remember that in the sacredness of this space, your life, you're more than your worst actions. You're more than your neglect. You're more than your regrets. Those qualities of magnificence and beauty, they're there. They just may be calling for a little bit of polishing, a little bit of attention. Notice what you notice, friends, and enjoy this practice. Friends, it is very common in the contemporary mind to picture a journey on a timeline. We've all been sort of taught that way. We look at evolution on a timeline, we look at time on a timeline, we look at aging on a timeline. So no wonder where we treat a journey as this long road, always looking out, always striving for something way out there ahead. That's why you have the adage that it's the journey, not the destination. And it's often both. But there's another way of thinking about this. And while the Buddhists didn't talk about it specifically, some German philosophers did. And I can't remember if it was Hegel or Meister Eckhart from the 13th century. One of the two spoke of the journey not being miles long. The journey in that regard may only be about an inch long, but it can be miles deep. And what I love about that perspective is this self inner work, going deep, peeling back the layers. And if you look at the earth and you look at all of the layers of evolution, every single layer that you can slice through or peel away is essential for the life manifesting now upon it. And so all my own layers make the life that I have now. But I have to go deep. I have to excavate things in order to bring them forward, bring them up into the light, bring them up into this positive space so that I can not be weighed down, stuck by all of these old patterns of being and thinking. That's another positive change I make is I have to go deep in order to be lighter on this good earth. So that's just something else to think about in your beautiful space that you create for yourself. And so with that, let's go ahead and chant the three jewels to the Buddha, to the Dharma, to the Sangha. And to remember that so much of this mindfulness, this present time awareness, and really looking at ourselves is enabling us to go deep to sustain us for the journey at hand. If you know this chant, you can join with me. It's very, very simple. It's Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, and Namo Sanghaya. And we'll chant this 3 times to the wonderful 3 jewels. Breathing in. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Let's be fearless about the fact that the journey of recovery is really tender and it's highly, highly vulnerable and it's fragile. The other thing that I want to say fearlessly is that a lot of the social conditioning we've been exposed to regarding the journey of recovery is incredibly negative. Um, Even if you're journeying on this path of recovery, you're trailed by a lot of negativity. One of the most pernicious attitudes is when people go to lots and lots of meetings. They're scorned for, this is their addictive personality. Now you're going to all these meetings. It's a really, really terrible, mean-spirited thing to say. And it's false. It's a lie. Because when we attend meetings and when we do anything that is recovering healing, that is a virtuous action. So today we heard the tender feeling of, or the tender awareness that while in active substance misuse, we create the conditions for pain. And while we move away from active substance misuse into the journey of recovery, there's still pain. And that is true. The truth, however, is one leads to festering pain, the other leads to healing. And with any kind of healing, there's pain and discomfort. We're peeling away things that no longer serve, and we're bringing forth resilience and strength. We're working muscles, spiritual and physical, that we haven't before. And that's painful, but it's on the side of healing. Make no mistake. I want to thank you all for being such extraordinary wisdom keepers and by extension, wisdom sharers. And I want to thank you for trusting this space to be with you with care and compassion. And I want to thank each of you personally for aspiring to be someone trustworthy. We are all, each of us, each other's Kalyana Mitra, wise friend. We meet tomorrow at 11:30 in the morning. And we're going to continue to talk about the way out of suffering and maybe the way into it too, the way into it and through. Let's be bold about that. Let's be fearless about that. Maybe even tomorrow, if you have any kind of sports gear like shoulder pads or helmet, wear it. And let's just, plunge on through, peeps. Please check out our website that Lo has posted in the chat. You can read all about us and check out all the wonderful things that we have going on at Soul Center, all the things that we do to support Recovery Dharma and Sate Seva. We offer a lot of things at Soul Center as a way of underwriting everything we do for free. So we're so grateful for your Dana offerings. We're so grateful for your participation in our classes and our workshops. All of that goes back into supporting this beautiful space and this beautiful mission. Lo and I are here all the time, and all of our time is volunteer. We just dedicate, we're so devoted to this community. We're so devoted to this mission. It really is a lay effort. And we're very proud of it. We've been solidly doing this now for 10 years. And it wouldn't be possible without you and your really pristine, brilliant presence here today. So with that, I'd like to end our practice, and I'd like to end our practice with a dedication of merit. And there are some new people in the Recovery Dharma practice today, and I want you to know that the practice that we do here in the Spokane Sangha is inspired by a lot of my time spent in monastic settings. And so whenever you join into a monastic setting, the meeting, anytime you come into the presence of the three jewels, you always set an intention. And so today we had an intention of metta, of loving kindness. We begin this practice on the spirit of love and kindness. And then we end the practice on a dedication. And the dedication isn't just in recognition of the merit that we've acquired here today for ourselves personally, it's to dedicate it out into the world. And may these positive effects here today, these reminders of love and kindness, these reminders to create a sacred space where we can reflect deeply on ourselves. And yes, it's going to be painful at times, but don't forget that right beside the pain, right next to it, is freedom, it's liberation, it's healing. So we have to paradoxically be with it in order to experience that relief, that lightness. We dedicate this practice to anyone and everyone still in the shackles of active substance misuse, anyone who is suffering with dysregulated mental health, anyone who is living on the streets, anyone who is in jail or longer term prison, anybody in the hospital who is ill and recovering, everyone in all of the various stages of treatment, may the goodness that we've experienced here today ripple out to them, find them, be a whisper in the air that they are seen, they are loved, they are held. If it's comfortable and if it's available to you, put your hands on your heart and imagine your hands, imagine your touch holding a very new life, like a puppy or a baby bird or a kitten, or maybe you're someone who likes snakes and it's a newborn snake just out of a shell, or a little chicken just recently hatched. Some precious new life. That's you today in this moment. May we remember we have never been, nor shall we ever be, a mistake in the infinite gaze of the divine. You are here in this life right now because you belong here. In all of you, the good, the bad, the neutral, everything is celebrated. Everything is here for your awakening to this precious, precious human life. It is a practice, friends. So thank you for joining us in this practice. May your journey be deep. May your journey be light. Namaste.